Right now, I'd like to thank playwright Will Cooper, who is the sponsor of this next event with Dr. Edith Eger. Will Cooper is an award-winning playwright based in San Diego. His first play, Book of Leaves, was a finalist at the prestigious Ashland News Plays Festival. His critically acclaimed play, Jade Heart, originally premiered in Chicago before premiering at Moxie Theater here in San Diego. His other plays include Shadows of Athens, Movement Man, Guntopia, and Margin of Error. Among his works in progress is Bark, an adaptation of a real-life story from the autobiographical works of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, author of The Little Prince. Will is a founding partner of the award-winning The Roustabouts Theater Company.
If you don't know about the Roustabouts, it's a really innovative theater company here in town, started by Phil Johnson and Will Cooper. And one of the things I really love about them is the way they champion new work. Often as a playwright, it's hard to get your voice out there. And they're really working on making it as diverse as possible and having avenues for new playwrights to get their stuff produced. So check out the Roustabouts. And I guess I get the honor here too of talking about another local treasure. I think I've shared with you before that my mom was a Holocaust expert. So I grew up with many of these stories, and I had the pleasure of once meeting Dr. Edith Eger. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her story. It'll change your life when you dive into it. A native of Hungary, Edith Eva Eger was just a teenager in 1944 when she experienced one of the worst evils the human race has ever known. As a Jew living in Nazi-occupied Eastern Europe, she and her family were sent to Auschwitz, the heinous death camp. Her parents were sent to the gas chambers, but Edith's bravery kept her and her sister alive. Toward the end of the war, Edith and other prisoners had been moved to Austria. On May 4th, 1945, a young American soldier noticed her hand moving slightly amongst a number of dead bodies. He quickly summoned medical help and brought her back from the brink of death. After the war, Edith moved to Czechoslovakia, where she met the man she would marry. In 1949, they moved to the United States. In 1969, she received her degree in psychology from the University of Texas, El Paso. She then pursued her doctoral internship at the William Beaumont Army Medical Center at Fort Bliss, Texas. Edith Eger's powerful first book, The Choice, she came on last year to talk about it, told the story of survival in the concentration camps, her escape, her healing, and her journey to freedom. Oprah Winfrey noted, "I will be forever changed by Dr. Eger's story." Thousands of people worldwide wrote to Eger to share how The Choice inspired them to confront the past and try to heal their pain. We got letters as well about that book. And many readers asked her to write another, more how-to kind of book. So the book that she's just written called The Gift is such a book. In it, Eger expands on her message of healing and provides a hands-on guide that gently encourages us to change the thoughts and behaviors that may be keeping us imprisoned in the past.
Wow. Wow. She's so incredible, and we're so fortunate to have her here at the San Diego Writers Festival. In fact, really, is Edith on with us? Yes. Hi, Dr. Eger.
Welcome.
We want to, hello, Phyllis.
Hello.
Hello. We want to thank you, Dr. Eger, for your insight, your wisdom, and your encouragement. You are a gift. And we're honored to present you right now with the San Diego Writers Festival 2021 Inspirational Writer of the Year Award. Would you mind holding that up for us?
Oh, we have it here. I'm so happy to be with you and have a wonderful conversation, how we can really find something good in everything and how to turn tragedy into a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And this is the time out for us to take stock of our lives and regroup and not to go back, but to have a new beginning. Here it is.
Amen. Let's hold it up and hold it up right next to Dr. Oh, I see. Let's everyone smile for a photograph.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I have a
Smile.
wonderful colleague, a brilliant woman who's a writer herself, and she's going to interview me. And she's been working on it day and night for weeks. And I told her, throw away those notes and just let our spirit give the people an opportunity to look at their own really wonderful. That's a beautiful, really voice that we have, our soul, that is usually wonderful to be listened to because your spirit will tell you really the truth.
Mm. Well, that's a very nice transition. I'd like to introduce Phyllis Olins. Am I saying your name right, Phyllis Olins?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
All right. Olins holds a master's degree in counseling and has trained extensively in conflict mediation. She was appointed to the California State Advisory Commission for At-Risk Intervention and was awarded by the San Diego County of Education in May of 2009 for work in community relations. She has had over 20 years of experience in applying counseling and conflict mediation strategies to dilemmas in all walks of life. Welcome, Phyllis. Welcome, Dr. Eger.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone that we're going to leave room at the end for questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the Facebook comments. We will collect them, and Marnie's going to come back on and feed them to our wonderful panelists.
Absolutely.
Marnie,
Send them over. Send over those questions.
All right.
Sounds wonderful.
We're going to pass it to you.
Let's begin. Dr. Eger, it is an honor to speak with you today regarding seeing life as a gift. We know that Dr. Eger's first book, The Choice, is an international bestseller, and her second book, The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life, is a brilliant, practical, hands-on guide to finding the true self. With that, Dr. Eger, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, the most exciting thing is that there'll never be another you, that you're one of a kind. And I think it's wonderful to celebrate today the opportunity that we had, especially in a place like Auschwitz. That was really hell. That was darkness. And we were told every day we're never going to get out of here alive. And here I am letting you know that it's possibly to change hatred into pity. And I began to look at the guards that they were the prisoners, not me. So, you know, the way you talk to yourself will change your whole body chemistry. And that is science. So really pay attention to your self-dialogue, because it really will give you an opportunity to discover your inner resources that no one can take away from you unless you allow it.
I love that you have a strength within you that you can teach. I would think that some people might look at you and say, she's an exception. Not everybody can do this. And yet, in writing this book, I really feel like you're handing the baton to the reader and saying, yes, you can do this too. And
if I can do it, you can do it. For many years, people asked me to write a book, and I automatically said, I have nothing to say. Nothing to say. And then Philip Zimbardo, who writes the foreword in The Choice, said to me, you know, Edie, the survivors who made it and famous are all men. We need a female voice. Wow.
And the female voice comes through so strong.
That got to my heart. And I said, yes, I am going to sign up a female voice of Viktor Frankl. But he was in his 30s as an MD, and I was 16 in love, a very different time of our lives and in our development. So I think the COVID gives us an opportunity here to not go back, but to really take care of some of the things that are not working anymore the way it did. And change is really synonymous with growth. I think if you don't change, you don't grow. So I'm hoping that today is a very, very good day for people to give birth to the you that was meant to be.
It makes me giddy when you say that. It becomes very real. I appreciated that in your book as well. You spoke about COVID just now, and I think that there is a tendency for all of us to feel that pain and then start asking, why me? Why me? Why this? And your question in your first chapter, why not me, is so, it implies strength. How did that question evolve?
Well, why me is really about what now, because you cannot change the past. Why is the past-oriented world a problem-oriented world? And I cannot change the past. That's one thing we cannot change. I live in a present, and I think young, but not young and foolish. So 93, I think you have to be old to be young.
Yes.
I have hope, and I still want to look always what's good about in everything. That is a discovery, to discover your true self, your genuine self that you may have given up to be the firstborn child in your family because you're the responsible one, and the middle child who wants to be a peacemaker, and the youngest child. You know how we call the youngest child? The charming manipulators.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if any of you can respond to any of those labels. It may not fit you. I don't really care for labels, but one thing I know, there'll never be another you.
Well, and you were speaking about this, about being young and in being in the moment, and curious. And one of your chapters, you ask us to take a look at the amount of time that we spend in work, the amount of time that we devote to play, the amount of time that we devote to loving one another. And I was actually kind of afraid to do this exercise because it becomes, without even having to write the hours, it became apparent to me that this exercise is really a good exercise for those of us who are part of this culture that asks us to achieve. Tell me about play.
Working, playing, and play really represents, I think I am going to refer to Jesus, who said that only children can go to heaven. And I think he meant to be childlike, but not childish.
Yes.
Because you ask a child, why do you do that? And a child would say, because I feel like it. I don't think children care about the consequences at all. But as an adult, I still feel like it because God gave me temptation. Why? Temptation is about having it as an adult, but it doesn't mean I'm going to act upon it.
Yes.
You see?
Yes, there's a choice.
I am wanting to hopefully make a decision that is in my best interest, whether it's going to empower me or deplete me.
Yes. And for me, holding that up and saying, yes, we must play as human beings gives all of us permission to understand that this is wisdom. This is not frivolity. It's actually necessary for our health and our well-being that you so artfully exemplify. I was looking at understanding the paradox of confronting feelings of the past.
Yeah.
In order to be free in the present. This is in your chapter regarding the prison of avoidance, avoiding the difficult feelings.
Yeah.
And you tell of your experience going to the Holocaust Museum. What led you to your decision to go there?
Oh, my goodness. After 6 years, I was part of the military and taking care of people who suffered, it's called PTSD. It's really a post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't like that. I think it's a reaction to a loss.
Yes.
You know, we pathologize too much. I think it's good to demythologize that there is no perfect marriage and there is no perfect anything. And people who don't fight in marriage, that probably don't have much intimacy either.
Yeah.
It's very important, really, not to compete, but to cooperate. And that's what happened. And so I didn't have anything to do after 6 years. And I finally went to the Holocaust Museum. And so they sent me up to the 4th floor. I was looking at the picture of the GIs and that I was liberated. I was very happy. And then I saw Italy, France, and a big picture on the right side, new arrivals in Auschwitz, May 1944. And I am part of that. When 15 highly educated people decided that they can put 30,000 Jews in the oven in one day without even gassing them. And I'm part of that final solution of Eichmann. So it's not comparable. Unfortunately, we have genocide as we speak.
Confronting those feelings is such an unthinkable
Yes.
moment. And I'm clear that it took years for you to get to that moment in your life.
Exactly.
And that reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning had something to do with that decision, I believe.
And I wrote immediately an article, Viktor Frankl and me, little old me, and someone sent it to him to Vienna. And I got a letter one day, Viktor Frankl, and inviting me to meet him in San Diego at the International University in the 70s when he was teaching here, Man's Search for Meaning.
What was it like to meet him?
I thought I was with the Pope. Or just about. I know. I felt so little. And we developed a relationship, was none like it, you know, to really be my mentor and my guide and my colleague. Yes. I did a 90th birthday keynote address. And that was a wonderful celebration. Wow. And you know what? He was climbing mountains, the Alps. Yeah, he was an amazing...
At the age of 90?
At the age of 90.
Oh, my goodness.
He was an amazing young person.
Well, speaking of being amazing, I know that Dr. Eger is still dancing, still doing the high kick, and telling us all that we are, especially when we clear our feelings and give them to the past and face ourselves in the present, we understand something differently about our strength. And I find it absolutely riveting to read about this. In your chapter 3, you talk about abandonment. And this, just reading the word in your book, stopped me short. And I thought, this is so universal. How do all of us experience abandonment?
Yes, I think the biggest fear of a child is the fear of abandonment. We do anything to fit into the family dynamics. And that's when we give up our true self, our genuine self. This is the time to reclaim that. I went back to Auschwitz. You go back to the lion's den, you look at the lion in the face, you reclaim your innocence. There is no forgiveness without rage.
Yes, that capacity.
Don't be afraid to scream it out. If you're alone in a house, scream, because what comes out of your body doesn't make you ill. What stays in there does.
Exactly. And there's something about that permission to feel anger.
Yes, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can vent anger, you suppress anger. I like you to dissolve. Learn how to dissolve the anger, because while you're angry, you're hurting, and it's better for you to really come to the realization that what happened, that was then, that I don't have to carry it with me anymore. So forgiveness is not, I forgive you for what you did to me. I don't have any godly powers, but I will release the part in me that maybe is still a hostage or a prisoner of the past.
Exactly. This is.
I refuse to be a victim. I was victimized. It's not who I am. It's not my identity. It's what was done to me.
Yes.
There is a big difference. So when a woman comes and tells me that she was sexually touched, but she cannot tell me because I was in Auschwitz,
Yes.
my answer to her is, I knew the enemy. You see?
Yes.
So there is no comparable. The question really is, when did your childhood end?
Yes. And you talk about childhood with a great deal of authority in this. I think that may I read to you
Sure,
from
please.
your words? When we're hungry for affection, attention, and approval, nothing is ever going to be enough to fill the need. And then you say, you are going to the wrong place to fill the void. It's like going to the hardware store to buy a banana.
Yeah, or a pantyhose. That's what one of my patients told me.
Oh.
Or a pantyhose, she said. Yeah, it's not going to be.
It's not, you don't
Neely's
find
in
it
La Jolla.
there. And so finding our true selves, which is the gift to us, is bringing us back to our true selves. When we strive to be our true selves, when does that striving become toxic, that achievement become toxic to us?
Well, there's a difference between the being and the doing. What we can change is our behavior. And we have to learn, especially in a coupleship, you have to learn how to negotiate and how to compromise. So if someone wants something from you, and you may say, well, what's in it for me? And you learn to negotiate and you learn to compromise. If you're not willing to compromise, don't even think of marriage.
Words of wisdom for all of us. So I'm clear that your keys to freeing yourself from guilt and shame is one of your deepest chapters.
Yeah.
It also feels very personal to me when I read about crawling, making yourself very little and crawling inside.
Yes. Say hello to your organs. Say hello to every one of your organs and see what your head is telling you and what, men want to understand everything. Remember? See, they want you to explain and understand. Okay. I don't know how to deal with that word, understand. I never understand how Dr. Mengele reached after me when I followed my mother to the gas chamber and told me, you're going to see your mother very soon. She's going to take a shower. You see, that word understand is so academic, in a classroom, we always want to understand everything. But I don't think that word understand is really for me.
No, it isn't. And I think that when you talk about in your book, when you tell us about reaching into ourselves to feel and to touch our organs intimately, I mean, there is a place of your being present to yourself that to me feels like a strength beyond words. It's not academic. This book is not academic. It is based on practice that is everyday practice, but builds such strength. And I see it in you all the time. But
well, I think the tummy is associated with our brain. I think it's very, very important. to have that connection.
Indeed. So on page, this is brilliant. For those of you who know Edie's work, I think this is so profoundly important. You say, all therapy is grief work. You expect one thing and you get another. Can you tell us about your work with combat veterans?
Yes, well, combat veterans, unfortunately, still choose suicide, and we hopefully minimize that now. Why? Because two things is happening. We were put in a place we were not prepared for. We were told one thing and we found another. And I think that is really happening now, that many people feel cheated, shortchanged, and it's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's not a dirty word, but how I'm going to channel it, that is important. That I don't get stuck in it. You go through the valley of the shadow of death, but don't get stuck in it. Because then you're constipated, and when you're constipated, we're going to concentrate on a movement. And so I like you to evolve rather than revolve. And some people just do the same thing over and over again. And of course, Einstein told us that's the definition of insanity.
It couldn't be more powerful. And especially for me, reading this book about being stuck. Many people that I talk to in my world are stuck with the question of injustice, of bullying, of how is it possible that people are so horrible, so cruel now? And if I may quote you again, about dealing with bullies, I think this is so magical. You say, the more they yell, the more
relaxed I become. You take the negative stimuli. Have you ever tried to change someone and succeeded?
No.
And
you told me early on, and I keep telling people this, that people learn from example and from experience. And that is my experience as well. I think that I could not agree with you more on this. If I may quote you again, this regarding bullies, this touched me deeply. This is one of the ways I was able to survive Auschwitz. I was surrounded every moment by dehumanizing words, but I didn't let the words penetrate my spirit. Somehow I was blessed with the insight that the Nazis were more imprisoned than I was. I still had an inner sanctuary. The Nazis' power came from systematic dehumanization and extermination. My strength and freedom were within. Brava.
Yes, that look at life from inside out, that takes me back to my ballet master who held me up and said, all your ecstasy, using that word, which I had no idea what he was saying, but all the ecstasy in life has to come from inside out. And that's what I discovered in Auschwitz, that they could put me in a gas chamber any minute. Any minute, I had no power over that, but they could never murder my spirit. And that's what I bring you today. And it's there within you. And go get that little girl or the little boy and tell that little girl, little boy, I'm here. I'm never, ever going to leave you. And I'm going to hopefully be the one who you're never, ever going to lose. And I think it can lead to a new beginning. And I hope that, especially when you're married, you tell each other what you appreciate and what you resent. Because what you appreciate one time, you may resent another time. For instance, my husband was a perfectionist. And when we went to a party, he was already in a car and I was not ready. If you know, I was not ready. And he was getting frustrated. But if I had to get up early in the morning and I had to be at the airport 4:30 in the morning to catch a flight to Europe, I knew I could count on him. So the very thing that you appreciate one time, you resent another time. This is a good time to really do that kind of an exercise and see how you can work with your husband, because that's the pioneer woman who worked with as a team with the husband rather than who's better than and who's less than. You know, we're all beautiful, one of a kind,
Well,
children of God.
your ability to work with your mind
Yes.
is a power source for you, and you teach this. As we get further into your book, we explore your practice of hopefulness.
Yeah.
And there is in your teaching a relentless curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And that hope is not a distraction from darkness, it is a confrontation with darkness.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to me as I wrote down these words that your mother told you in the cattle car. And
she said to me, honey, we don't know where we're going. We don't know what's going to happen. Just remember, no one can take away from you what you put in your mind. I'm also reminded of Jung, you know, that there is a lot of untapped potential in the shadow. This is a potential
in the
discovery.
shadow, to me, is a deepening that because when you go into the darkness, if you are confronting the darkness, the image of you dancing for Mengele comes up to me. You are confronting the darkness with your own power of seeing beauty in dance.
And reclaim my innocence.
Yes.
And assign the shame and guilt to the perpetrator. And for that, I asked my sister to come with me back to Auschwitz. And she told me I'm an idiot. So you see, we went through the same experience, entirely different responses. She does it her way, I do it my way. And so I'm just giving you Edith's way, not your way.
Well, it feels to me like your curiosity and your hopefulness, it seems to be grounded in love from your mother telling you what to do with your mind. And I almost feel like your mother's love has now become part of our lexicon. I write down her words, just remember.
Yes,
no one can take away. And so that is a miracle to me, that your mother is still with me now and out into the world, that grounded in love.
A little while ago, I got a call, and the call came from Diane.
Von Furstenberg.
Von Furstenberg?
Yes, Von Furstenberg. And she told me that her mother was in Auschwitz the same time I was, and she wants to visit me. And she is referred to as the grandmother of the Statue of Liberty, because she was the one. So if you buy the book, The Statue of Liberty, you're going to read about Diane, who has really become known as the grandmother who made things happen and collected the money that was necessary to have that wonderful name. So I can't wait to meet her, but she met my daughter. So now they are sisters. And so life is filled with beautiful surprises.
That is beautiful. And they're in New York City? They have friends in New York City.
Yes,
I can see them
yes.
on their
Marianne
escapades.
was invited to dinner, of all dinners, and my daughter and I are hoping to write a book on recipes.
Oh.
So I'm sure that hopefully I will meet her soon.
This is amazingly exciting.
Yes,
I look forward to this. I know that Dr. Eger loves fashion. And,
yes, my father told me that when I grow up, I'll be the best dressed gal in town.
Yes, and it's always...
So they call me the Escada girl.
Oh, the Escada girl from your
I
scarf.
was just looking at it. This Escada came to me when I was in München, I think,
Mm.
where the Escada person opened up the shop. And Escada means a horse.
This is absolutely lovely. And it reminds me of your father and how you carry your father with you
Yeah.
because of your love of fashion and his
he told me
specific talent.
He was a tailor, became a couturier, and looked at me and said, "You'll be the best dressed girl in town, Papa."
And there you are.
I am.
And you
I
hold
am.
him in your
Yeah.
heart in that way.
This
It's
dress
beautiful.
came from Bali. Actually, came from Bali. You wash it, you wear it. You don't have to iron it. And so, my precious person who takes care of everything here, Katie girl, come show your precious face. She's the one who told me to wear my yellow dress. Yeah. Yeah.
Katie
It's-
keeps everything glued together, including
I try.
all of us. I wanted to ask you one more question about freedom. I had read that there is no freedom without discipline. And I brought that up to you.
Without responsibility.
And
absolutely.
you said to me there is no freedom without responsibility. But then you went on. Do you remember what
Well,
you said to me?
children want all the freedom. Teenagers want. You know, there is a book for teenagers. Get out of my life, but first, would you take me and Cheryl to the mall? You know,
Yes, I love
that's
that
the
title.
title of the book. You see, the children, teenagers want all the freedom, and I like to write a constitution with rules, because if you don't have any rules, you're going to have chaos.
Yeah. And the responsibility that you felt throughout your life, what was that responsibility that you felt?
I felt responsibility to feed my sister in Auschwitz, because she was heavier than I was. So I would eat that soup that had all kinds of medicines in it and save the bread. So the following day I would tell her, "I'm really not hungry." So that's what it took, because all we had was each other then. And we had to form a family of inmates. So if you were just for the me, you didn't make it. So you discover, not recover, you discover an opportunity that I think Auschwitz was for each of us, whether we're going to make it or not. And I could see who's going to die. I could see it on their faces. I could see it in their eyes. I could see this girl who was from Yugoslavia. She said, "We're going to be liberated Christmas." And Christmas came and went. She died. So it's very important to have a survivor's personality, because victims will always find the victimizer.
Yes.
And that's very, very important. And in marriage, I see them, having one or the other that they assign to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important to use this time in COVID, not to go back, but to plant a seed and then watch it grow.
You speak in your book about relationships that are salvageable, that are discarded in despair.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us more about that with your patients?
Well, I ask questions like, how can I be useful to you? I don't ask, how can I help you? I'm not Humpty Dumpty. I'm not putting you back together again. But I think there is a willingness for a person to come to see me, because coming to see me is hard work. That you revisit the places where I hold your precious hand. You're not alone. We're going to revisit your childhood. We're going to look at you maybe as a very lonely child, as I was. So I think it's very important to recognize that suffering makes you stronger. Everything has something good in it. And when you suffered, you're not going to give up so quickly at all. If you can't get in the front door, I'm going to try the side window. And if that doesn't work, I'll go to the chimney. It's next is a good word.
Yes.
Next is a wonderful word.
And speaking of going to the side window and up the chimney, I watch you
Yeah, I'm going.
risk everything
I go
to
on.
move forward. And I look at that. There's you tell of this moment when you're dressed to see Deepak Chopra,
Yes.
and you are in the car and you're driving there. You realize you're in great pain.
Yes.
You say, "I'm going anyway," and you push yourself forward. And I think that sometimes it works out. Sometimes
Yeah, and in that case, my friend took me to the hospital, which was wonderful because I had surgery and I was told if I would have waited another hour, there was something with the small intestines that were attacking. And he told me I would have died because I wanted to be with Deepak, and my body told me, get to that hospital.
And you listen to your body.
You're going to see Deepak. And that's what happened. He picked me up preciously and put me in a car so I can go to the hospital and live. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deepak is really a wonderful person who tells us to really meditate and talk to ourselves and listen to our inner voices. It's a good sign, really, when you are well connected with your body, your mind, and your spiritual dimension.
It brings up the reality for me that there are many ways to approach the self-awareness, and that your ways are very unique and very much grounded in experience, and especially with your clinical practice. And so I find that there's a richness to the soil that you plant.
I say
that
what I
spread.
lived, and you can't argue with that.
No, you cannot.
I say what I lived, and thank God helped me to be with you now as Dr. Edith Eva Eger. And when I visited the Holocaust Museum, the following morning I went to the place where all the people met to take care of the prisoners of war, and I saw a sign, Dr. Edith Eva Eger, and I was wondering that the girl that I saw yesterday at the Holocaust Museum is the same person. And I think that really is very important, that you want to know how are you going to be remembered. And I hope I want to be remembered that I did everything in your power, that your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, I have 7 of those, all boys, 7 boys, but they're never going to experience, hopefully, what I did. That is my goal. That's why I'm speaking today to you and letting people know what happens when good people do bad things.
There is an image in my mind from this evolution, from this little girl that you were speaking about in Auschwitz to the plaque that has your name, Dr. Edith Eva Eger. And the image is one that you speak of in your book of, and I don't know how to pronounce her name, Yvonne de Jong, prima ballerina of the Dutch National Ballet.
Yes.
That she choreographed and performed a piece inspired by your first night in Auschwitz.
Beautiful.
And can you tell us in your own words now about that experience of, and especially where you were seated?
Yes, it was a beautiful performance that she designed, that she is walking, and Dr. Mengelek keeps following her and wants to dance with her, and he never gets her. She keeps walking, and he keeps reaching, and that's the whole ballet. And about 900 people are a standing ovation, and I get those roses, and there I am, expecting this wonderful woman.
It seems to me that you
the-
were seated also in the seats of the king and queen of Denmark. Is this true?
Right in the first row,
Oh,
and she
what an honor.
hopes to come here and visit me.
No kidding,
I
yeah?
hope she will.
Oh,
I don't know whether they got married or not, but I'm good for that. I'm good for that, to see whether you are really capable of being a good cooperative person, because it's good to marry your best friend.
oh, it
and
would
your
be lovely.
soulmate.
Oh, I would love to. I hope you get pictures of you with the prima ballerina of Denmark. This is because dance was so important to you in bringing back the strength that you had in holding your presence and holding your dance in the presence of evil. I have to wonder about the discipline of ballet in your life and gymnastics.
It's very, very important. But when people ask me what kind of dance I like, they call it supermarket music, because I love the big band. I was liberated by the Tommy Dorsey and the, and that's my dance. I love the big band.
Yes.
That's
Miss Phyllis
And you
and
can still boogie woogie?
I can boogie, yes. as long as my lungs can take it, I'm gonna dance, yes.
It sounds like a very good idea.
Very good.
It's
very
what
good.
you-
Phyllis, we have some questions from
You
Facebook.
like, and find your own rhythm, and hopefully you can negotiate and compromise.
Yeah.
Phyllis, can you hear me?
Well, we are
you.
here. We are with Marnie. Hello,
Hello,
Marnie
'cause I
Friedman.
wasn't sure if you could hear me.
have
We've gotten
questions?
such
We
a
have you on
great-
mute, it would seem. Are you on mute?
I don't think so. Can you hear me?
For
I'm
right
not-
now, we're not hearing Marnie Friedman's voice.
The admin may have her on mute.
The admin might have her on mute.
Marnie is actually live.
We're speaking to the gods of the internet, and they
Can you
have
hear me?
left us. Oh, I'm so glad that you have today the joy of seeing your grandchildren. Those of you in the audience don't know this, but we're looking at her twins.
Hold it up.
Can we do that? We can share these photographs. Here we have the lovely twins who are hilariously adorable. And we have, who's this tall
This
gentleman?
is my granddaughter's sons.
Oh my goodness. So we're looking at great grandchildren here. And with you at the center, when's the last time you got to really play? Speaking of work, play, and loving, I guess that fills the category of playing and loving.
Well, I'm waiting for my great-grandson to come back. They are in Atlanta right now visiting the grandparents. So I can't wait to come and hold them again and play with the many, many, many toys that they have. Very creative. And my daughter is a child psychologist, and she buys the best toys of the world.
Well, tell me something about this. Are we talking about interactive toys with computer and technology, or are we talking about toys that you manipulate and play interacting with human beings?
That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does she have a
Yeah.
preference? Does she speak about this as a psychologist herself?
I don't know, but she goes to the toy store and buys up the
The wood
Everything.
blocks and the Legos and all of
Everything
that?
like that.
Uh-huh.
Everything that you put a ball in and it goes dun, 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 dun. Then they pick it up again, go again, dun, 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 dun. That kind.
As a clinical psychologist, do you see a danger of interacting like this as opposed to this?
Oh, you have to have a good balance.
Okay.
I think a good balance. I think it has to be age appropriate. And for that, you need to study Piaget. And he talks about the social development of children.
So are we missing the social development of children?
Yes, I know that we grieve in therapy the childhood we never had, not what we had, but we never did have.
Yeah.
And I know that I didn't have any childhood. My childhood ended very young. And I still remember that part of me I left in Auschwitz, but not the better part, not the bigger part.
No.
Yeah. I never will forget Auschwitz or overcome it. I came to terms. I was there. I'm here now. So it's not why me, it's what now.
What now?
Have them try again.
Okay, we are going to ask you to try again to
Okay,
interface with us.
Can you
Yes,
hear?
there you are.
Yay. Because we had so many just wonderful questions coming in from Facebook, and we're having a technical difficulty and we're trying to get them to you. So I'll just jump in. First of all, beautiful interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Eger, and thank you, Phyllis.
You really did a good job of preparing. Thank you.
She's brilliant in her own right and will be here with her own book, I'm going to say next year. That's my prediction. So first question for Dr. Eger is, Holly writes, what if I feel stuck in my past and I want out, but I don't know the first steps?
Well, let me tell you about a man who came to see me, and he told me that he's depressed. Okay, my question is, what's good about being depressed? No one asked him that question. And he said to me, nothing. And I may say, could it be that when you're depressed, you can get by of not wanting to do the dishes after meal or take out the garbage, and I can see that smirk that, yeah, now I'm see that every behavior satisfies a need. So you got to really look for the secondary gains. Because every yes.
Excellent. We have another question. I think it's from Fran. And Fran is wondering about, she said it took her a long time to figure out that she carries multi-generational trauma. Now that she realizes that she has it, what does she do?
I think it's a wonderful wake-up call that you don't have to hand it down to the next generation. You can stop it here and now. It doesn't have to go. Otherwise, it's automatic.
What's the advice of how you might start dealing with that?
Well, if your father is drinking, it doesn't mean that you have to drink too and use it as an excuse. You can stop it from going from generation to generation. You need to ask yourself, is it empowering me or depleting me? Is this good for me? Is this really good for me?
I love that. Is it empowering me or depleting me?
Be a good parent to you. Are you a good parent to you? Are you a good mommy to you? That is very important, that everything starts with you. You're born alone, and then you decide whether you're going to have a lifestyle that you have 3 meals a day, that you're going to maybe stop putting sugar in your cappuccino. It's not what you say, it's what you do. So love is not what you feel, it's what you do. And that is important to decide. Today, meeting me, if she can do it, I can do it. And I'm going to do it my way.
I think we have a couple more questions. One question here is from Tracy, and it says, any advice for writers trying to share about traumatic experiences, but finding it triggering? How do you go the distance and really go there?
Well, one thing is wonderful, just to be aware that you're not in denial, you're not in pretending something that never was, that you are giving yourself permission. That's a very good word. Give yourself a permission to take that journey, but you're not alone. You're with me here. I'm holding your hand, so we can go as deep as you can and find out, when did your childhood end? When did you have to give up? The little girl that had to be a good girl all the time, the girl that spent a lot of time alone, and I did. And I think I was prepared for Auschwitz.
Mm.
I was able to really take care of my sister Magda. See, I was 16, she was 6 years older than I was, and somehow everything has something good in it.
Mm.
And I think it's very important to use the time. Love is time, T-I-M-E, time. And if you have a big family, I make associations with this father and 10 children, very Catholic family, how he can be with each child for 20 minutes, 20 minutes. And then the Spanish say, a sus órdenes. I'm going to do what the child wants me to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're going
We
to
have
play great.
one last question. Our time is going short, but I just thought this was such a good one, and you're the perfect person to speak on this. Carolyn is wondering, our theme is what the world needs now. Can you speak to what your thoughts are on what the world needs now?
My thoughts?
On what the world needs now.
I think the world needs for us to begin to love ourselves and to be able to empower each other with our differences, that I can be I and you can be you. It's very, very important for us to be hopefully cooperating rather than competing or dominating. That's what we had in Auschwitz, and I think that's what right now is happening. We've never been so divided as we are.
But it's interesting what you just said was you started with loving yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That hit me right. I really think that that's incredibly poignant wisdom right there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, because you only have for a lifetime is you. All other relationship will end.
Mm-hmm. We're going to bring Jennifer in to are you there, Jennifer?
Hello, yes. That was incredible. I've had a hard time having dry eyes today.
Yeah, I know. My mascara is like running.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. Go ahead, Dr. Eger.
I like to tell you that I became very much engaged with Martin Buber, and Martin Buber was walking with his friend, and someone came by, and the friend asked, "Do you know that person?" And Buber said, "Not enough to share silence with him." I think that if you are happy with life mate, you don't have to ask, "Do you love me? Tell me, I am hard of hearing," that you are sharing silence. I think it's very good to be in a car and not to really ask questions. It's just to really share silence is a wonderful, beautiful way to have intimacy.
What a
Yes.
beautiful.
Absolutely.
I feel like I could sit here and just let's do 2 more hours where she just speaks about every subject.
Let's cancel it.
And Phyllis, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and talent to this interview as well.
I love the Writers Festival. I'll do it again and again and again. And
Next year, you got to
Oh.
come back.
tell you the same
Thank you. And we'll need to hear it just as much then. Yeah. That was
Yeah,
beautiful.
I hope to talk to you again. And in the meantime, love yourself. Self-love is self-care. It's not narcissistic.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a beautiful day. Thank you. Wow, that was incredible. She is just, I mean, she really is a gift. She's such a beautiful person, and you just can't help but like stop and listen and like absorb everything she has to
I want to
give,
rewind
right?
and then listen again and then rewind and listen again because there were so many gems.
Mhm.
You know,
That piece about silence. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
so true. Yeah, and we can rewind it because
That's
it's
true.
all recorded and it's all going to be live on San Diego writersfestival.com and on Facebook. See, that's the cool thing about doing it virtually is we get to relive it again and again.
Yeah.
Well,
To some degree, honestly, I'm a little, every time I meet her to some degree, and this happens where I go
Mhm.
into this like really deep contemplative place that just
yeah,
it feels like
Yeah.
she's shooting an arrow at you, like just, you know, so many insightful things that she said about how we can go down the path of being a victim or feeling victimized. You know, I think she called it the survivor's mindset and the survivor's personality. And so, yeah, my head is just spinning with those thoughts. And like she said, if she can do it, you know, with what she faced and what she saw, it's inspiring to all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah.